Hey guys, and welcome back to Let's Talk Liverpool. And the question that I am toying with, and that I'm sure many Liverpool fans around the world will be toying with, is wondering whether this defeat to Manchester City leaves us completely out of the title race. As was always going to be a tough game anyway, and given the run of form we've been in over the past 4 to 6 weeks, and how good City have been in particular over the past month or so, this game was going to be a crunch game to really test our credentials to see whether we really still could cut it this season. And honestly, the short answer is no. We just can't cut it at the moment. We are a long way off the pace that is currently being set in the Premier League, both in terms of points, but also in terms of performance, confidence, mentality. Courage was a word used a lot in the analysis after the game. We're just a long way off in all ways at the moment, and this game really exemplified it because we were playing the team that's probably the polar opposite of what we are right now. A team playing with confidence, a team playing with fluidity, a team playing, not holding anything back, always trying to win, looking for ways to score goals, and. Yeah, it was a very, very tough game, and one that I'm sure we'll look back on at the end of the season and say, you know what, that's the game we knew where City were going to win the league. Similar to how I think the Liverpool versus Manchester United game was last season, where we beat United 2-0 at home. I think this is an equally defining game. But going into the game, there was obviously a couple of key questions, mainly around the starting lineup, as to whether Jurgen Klopp would give any of the new centre-back signings a debut. Obviously, it would have been a huge game to bring them into, both having not played at the highest level, plus obviously being their debut. And then also we had the uncertainty of whether Alisson, Fabinho and Mane will be back into the team. And on the second bit, fortunately for us, Alisson, Fabinho and Mane all recovered from their various illnesses and knocks. They've kept them out of the last couple of games, and they're all back in the starting lineup today. And to answer the defensive one, it was Jordan Henderson and Fabinho that came in. I think that was always going to be likely. I think given the relative inexperience of both centre-backs, I think had we brought in someone that was maybe late 20s or slightly older, had played around quite a bit, then maybe Klopp would have felt more confident. But because we had two young defenders, I don't think Klopp was ever going to start them. And then the challenge for Klopp is going to be, when does he start them? We've got, I think, Leicester up next and then Everton. And those are huge games against teams around us. Everton, I believe, if they win their 2 games in hand, go above us into 4th. So that's kind of how tight things are around the top 4 table. But yeah, so we started off with Henderson and Fabinho. I guess the other change was that Curtis Jones came in for James Milner. I think that was purely just because James Milner couldn't play. He'd played like 3 or 4 games in the space of 2 weeks. And Curtis Jones, when he did come on against West Ham last weekend, really did make a difference. And so we needed him to, his driving, the way he plays when he drives forward, runs with the ball. Klopp obviously thought we needed that. And then obviously the front three were reunited again. The first half panned out in a slightly strange way. City kind of held the ball. We pressed, or looked like we wanted to press, but didn't really kind of full commit to it. And I think that kind of sums up a bit of the entire game that we played within ourselves, I think. I think watching it, the way I saw it was that the message to the players was don't lose. And hence the first half was very cagey. And sorry, that response was from a Liverpool perspective. And the Liverpool perspective was don't lose this game. We've obviously lost 2 home games in a row. We didn't want to make it 3 home losses. Plus, we didn't want to give City that momentum and confidence that they would get from beating us at Anfield, like they haven't done for such a long time. And I felt like that's how we played. The fullbacks but really didn't kind of get forward at the pace and speed that they have been in the past. And I think that was down to instruction rather than the way City were forcing them back, or City were playing in a way that didn't allow them to do that. I think we still struggle with Thiago in the midfield, with Thiago and Wijnaldum. I feel they both have the tendency and want to drop deep. And I know Wijnaldum's playing in the number 6 position because he provides a bit more solidity from a defensive perspective, but Thiago naturally floats into that position as well, just because that's where he's played and that's probably where he's more natural playing. The problem with that is we need Thiago further up the field. He's not going to play, those cutting passes, those ones into the strikers from that number 6 deep position. It's going to take a wonder ball from there, particularly against a very good defensive side such as Man City. So I think that was one problem, particularly with midfield. And Curtis Jones kind of got into the game a little bit, but on the whole struggled really. And as the first half went on, we kind of got into the game a little bit. Sadio Mane had a good chance from a header, but, not really testing Ederson. And the game was all just very, very passive. Going into the second half, it was going to be interesting to see whether both teams, like we've seen in a couple of big games this season, would be satisfied with the draw. I think, as I said, us going into the game, I think we would have been satisfied with the draw. I think Man City came out with the intention that they were not going to settle for a draw, and I think we saw that with almost kind of a change of formation where they almost went for a 4-2-2 with Rodri and Gundogan, and then Foden and Sterling. Mahrez on the right, Sterling on the left, and then Foden and Bernardo Silva going up front to just cause a little bit more pressure towards Henderson and Fabinho and stop those balls getting into Gini Wijnaldum and allowing him to play the ball, which he didn't really do all game. And I think that performance, particularly in the second half, really nullified any attacking prowess we really had in the game, and just allowed them to dominate. Not that I thought we played in any way, shape or form to the type of intensity that we need to play to beat Manchester City. We've got the blueprint of how to play against Manchester City and more importantly, how to win against Manchester City. It's high intensity press, put them under pressure. We saw that from the penalty, and we'll talk about the goals in just a second, but we saw that from our penalty, where it was just that intensity of that first time ball in behind, Salah running at the defender, which led to Ruben Dias making the mistake and getting our penalty. So we just needed to do a bit more of that. And obviously in the first half, I completely forgot because that's how much of a blur the first half was. Obviously Manchester City had that penalty which they missed again. That's 2 penalties in 2 games in the Premier League this season that they have missed, which is very unlike City. Gundogan blazing it miles over the bar. But in the second half, it always looked like one-way traffic, and it always looked like it was going to be City's game for the win, and we were going to maybe hang on or whatever. But their first goal was very good. Cute little bit of play. Trent looked petrified to tackle. Trent and Fabinho, I have to say, looked petrified to tackle Sterling after what happened in the first half, and it kind of just led to Foden getting quite a little space. I think Gini switched off. I think he just let Foden run off behind him. He was almost looking at where he was, but then decided to stop, and Foden ran in behind and then forced a save from Alisson, but it was an easy finish from Gundogan for there. And then we obviously got back into the game. It was, as I said earlier, it was great to have a first time ball in behind, and that's what I say. When you put some pressure onto that Manchester City team, particularly the defenders, we do see cracks and things crumble, and that's exactly what we saw for the penalty. At first, I thought it was a red card. I was wondering why, but John Stones was pretty much there, so I think it was the right decision. And Salah obviously hasn't missed. I don't think he's missed any penalties this season. I think that's 7 out of 7 for him, and he put it away. And after that, for about, I'd say not even 5 minutes, I thought maybe there was a bit of a spring in the step. Maybe that goal kind of just would give the players a little bit of confidence because of we haven't scored at home for the last couple of games, and you thought that maybe might be the platform for us to go on and possibly win the game, but it literally did the complete opposite to that. If anything, it gave Manchester City the reminder and the wake-up call that they could win this game, and it would only be self-inflicted if they didn't win this game. And after that, they really kind of just got the ball rolling and really forced us under kind of continuous pressure. And honestly, I can't even remember the order in which the goals went in, but there was a fantastic goal from Phil Foden, obviously the 4th goal. There was a great goal where, obviously the 2 goals they scored in between, the first and the 4th, were Alisson mistakes, which were definitely uncharacteristic. We obviously saw when he first came into Liverpool him make a couple of those mistakes. The one against Leicester, the Jamie Vardy one, is one that springs to mind, but so often he's been so reliable both with his saves but also with his feet and his distribution. And Yeah, it just was very strange. The first mistake he made, when he made the first mistake, when he was trying to pass it to Fabinho then passed it back to him, which I don't think was the cleverest idea, which then he just shanked it straight into Phil Foden. And it's one of those things that one of the criticisms of John Stones, way back when he first went, was to know when to boot it long and not try and be cute with playing out from the back. And I think in that moment, I think Alisson just made the wrong decision. And this is not about to go too hard. This is not about going hard on Alisson, but it was just a mistake. And then his confidence was shot after that. And I think that was a big reason why he messed up a fairly simple clearance for his second mistake and Manchester City's third goal. But I've got to give big credits here to Phil Foden. You have to appreciate great players when they play against you and when they put in performances like he put in against us. It was crazy. In the first half, he was fairly anonymous, and that probably would explain why City weren't as threatening in the first half. But he was all over it in the second half, absolutely all over it. And his goal capped it off. Obviously, he got 2 assists. Yeah, he got 2 assists. So I'm sure in FIFA he'll be getting a team of the week. But he was absolutely fantastic, and it would be wrong for me not to call him out and praise him on a fantastic performance. But then attention turns to us, I guess, and what we're going to do. I think the thing that's frustrating me a little bit is, yes, obviously the confidence is down, etc., but just nothing seems to be changing. We're just still sticking to the way of playing. We're not trying something different to even give the players a different challenge to get their minds thinking freshly. It feels like we're beating the same dead horse now, and it's becoming a little bit of a problem. And I think we're going to get to a stage where we're really going to have to dig deep to try and salvage this top 4. I really, really do think it's going to be very, very tough. There's teams around us that are on good runs of form, and they've got that juice that we had last season. We wanted to win the league, so it's definitely going to be very, very tough for us to even finish a top 4, and that realistically now for me I think is our ambition. It has to be our ambition. It has to be our focus now for the rest of the season. It has to be on trying to secure the top 4 and obviously go hard in the Champions League, because I don't see any other way for us to really do anything else this season. But that's it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a miserable defeat, but make sure to subscribe and follow the podcast as well if you're not already, if you enjoy these episodes. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.